Buckle up for Unstoppable Models 2021, a global podcast that inspires players in the modeling industry to learn, be creative, pursue their passions, and become unstoppable. We bring you tips for models as we talk about the lessons learned, trends, challenges, and solutions to help you stand out. The Unstoppable Model podcast will help you better focus your energy and redirect your doubts to turn it into positive and unstoppable determination. The world is ready for you. This podcast will get you ready for the world. Now, it's time to introduce your host and the already unstoppable Jackie Jones, an author, certified life coach, and graduate of Vogue Modeling and Talent Academy. With an MBA and over 26 years of experience, she has a desire to help models get paid more. Here is your host of the Unstoppable Model Podcast 2021, Coach Jackie Jones.
Welcome back to another episode of the Unstoppable Model. This is Jackie Jones, and I'm really excited because today we have an amazing guest. Her name is Dr. Chinwe Indigo, and she is an award-winning mental health professional and researcher with over 10 years of experience in the mental health field. She has extensive experience working with women to empower them to navigate complex environments and life experiences. Dr. Indigo research and clinical experiences include trauma, resilience, mental health stigma, and women's issues. She's worked with individuals in various clinical settings as well as various developmental stages of life and clinical presentations. You guys, I'm really excited about our speaker today because she has committed to social justice, and she really believes mental health services and the benefits of the science of psychology and how it should be available and accessible to the community at large. To that end, she has partnered with a number of local organizations to provide mental health services to marginalized groups in a creative manner, leading her to work as a therapist, public speaker, analyst, and psychoeducator in private, nonprofit, and governmental settings. Some notable organizations she has worked with include the Louisville Urban League, Kentucky Correctional Institute for Women, Rutgers University Behavioral Health Care, and Bergens County Division of Family Guidance. She also provides training in university and medical settings related to multicultural issues, treating trauma, and the use of resilience when working with challenging clients. You guys, she recently launched a wellness community targeting pre-clinical populations to equip women with the knowledge base and skills to make decisions related to prioritizing their mental health and well-being. Overall, Dr. Indigo's passion is to equip everyone she works with the tools, skills, and confidence to navigate the complex roles they occupy in our world and to meet people where they are at in terms of their willingness to engage with their mental health world. You all, her commitment to excellence is evident through professional recognition for her work. Dr. Indigo was selected as Distinguished Graduate Student in Professional Psychology by the American Psychological Association in 2019 and was selected as Outstanding Graduate of Counseling Psychology by the University of Louisville in 2020. In her free time, you can find her serving her community, dancing, spending time with friends and family, and keeping up with her TV shows. Dr. Chinwe Indigo, are you there?
I am, and thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Welcome to the show. I am excited to have you. I want to know, now as you know, I deal with models in the industry. Why is the mental health an important topic for the modeling industry?
Thank you. That's an excellent question. So I think mental health is important in general. However, when you really focus in on the modeling industry, you find that this is a population that really could benefit from mental health services. And so when you look at the general population globally, you find that about 1 in 20 people, so about 1 in 10 people, so that's about 10% of the general population have been diagnosed with a mental illness or are living with a mental illness. When you focus in more in the United States, that number is at 20%. So that means that about 1 in 5 people in the United States have had some type of mental illness. But then when you take that same vision and you look at the modeling industry, that number jumps up to 40%. So that is about a little over 2 in 5 people that you meet that are models have some kind of mental illness that they're either living with or they have overcome. So this is a very huge problem that's often not talked about. I know there is some conversation around eating disorders in the modeling industry, but it goes beyond that. So some studies have found that many of models do not actually have full-blown eating disorders, but they're what we call underweight and partial syndrome eating disorders. So they don't meet exact criteria, but they do engage in behaviors that are a little high risk when it comes to weight and food consumption. But we also find that about 35% of people working as models have a substance abuse problem. That number is about 12% in the general population. So again, you see this huge difference in showing that there's a lot of different issues that models face that is not often talked about. Also, we find that when it comes to the prevalence of suicide as ranked by careers, the media models are in the category that's known as arts, entertainment, design, sports, and media. And that category ranks 7th on a scale when you look at suicide across different professions. So as you can tell, there are a lot of issues mental health issues prevalent in that industry that's often overlooked and not talked about. And so I think it's important that we start taking a look at these things because I believe everyone has a right to live a healthy life.
What do you think are some challenges to models that place them in a high-risk category when it comes to mental health?
So when it comes to modeling and mental health, there's several different things that I think it's important to look at. So a study has shown that models are what we call like independent contractors. For those of you who don't know, these are, you work independently and you get paid. So basically you're your own person out there navigating an industry. And when you put that together, so most of the independent contractors I know tend to be a little bit older. But when you look at the modeling industry, a lot of models starting out tend to be as young as 15 years old even. And so there is a lack of knowledge base, so that leaves them vulnerable to things like sexual assault. And so you find those, that is something that is a huge issue with like about 30% of models report being sexually harassed and 28% reporting rape, while the general population is 15. So just being young, being vulnerable puts them at risk. Also, models are very susceptible to wage theft. A lot of times, it's an industry where it's not necessarily as structured as a lot of other industries, and that lack of structure opens things up for people to take advantage of them. And unfortunately, people do take advantage of these women. And so I think those are some of the risk factors that place models at risk for mental illness.
Yes, indeed. What about modeling do you think lends itself to these type of dangers?
So when I think of the modeling industry, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Jackie, because I know of your experience in this industry, I think of, glamour, glitz, just fast-paced, high fashion, fabulous, beautiful, and all those things. And while all that is a lot of fun, when you're a model working, there is a lot of this it's very fast-paced, and sometimes when you're in this fast-paced environment, it can be really difficult to put things in place to help you tend to your mental health. Also, it's extremely competitive. So when you have these extremely competitive environments, people feel pressured to do whatever it takes. And sometimes that whatever it takes may not necessarily be what's healthy for you. And so those are things that I think put people at risk. Other things is that if you think of some of the little things that we have in place as a community that a lot of women do to make sure that they remain safe, if you think about little things like that. So as a lot of women I know, we don't really spend time with men that we don't know in a private setting, just to avoid being victims of sexual assault. However, as a model, in some cases, that is your job. You know, you have to meet with a photographer for him to take your picture, and typically it's in a one-on-one setting. And so little things like that kind of make that industry more prone to these kinds of behaviors where a lot of models are actually being taken advantage of.
Yes, I've definitely heard that firsthand from a lot of models, and a lot of the safety tips that are now going around are to not do one-on-ones, you know, to definitely take a buddy with you, somebody that you do trust. And then also on the other end, I've also heard of photographers who set up cameras so that they can, you know, be professional in what they do. But there still is a lot to be done in the industry to help both sides. Now, a lot of mental health issues appear related to that imbalance of power. What are some ways for models to feel empowered through their careers?
You know, I think that, yes, there's this huge power imbalance where, you know, you have these photographers who are very experienced. And, you know, if you're coming in as a woman who's 15, 16, 17, or in that case, a young girl who's 15, 16, 17, it's easy to get intimidated by all that power, all that money, all that fashion, right? It's very easy to be intimidated. But I think it's very important, no matter how young you are going into the industry, to get a hold of your values. Because when you have your values, you can hold on to your why, and also have an idea of, I will never do this, I will never do that. Or in order for me to do this, this is what I need to feel comfortable. I think we all need to, it's a good tip for anyone in any industry, but I think it's especially important for models because that industry can be so fast-paced. It's not a lot of structure. It's not a lot of protection. So it's important to really have that inner sense of that inner value system going. Taking a moment to reflect on that. There are a lot of resources online that help you clarify what your values are. That is something that I work with people to do as well. So always I take appointments if that's something you're interested in. So that is one thing that's important to do to kind of feel empowered through the process. The other thing that you can also do is to keep reminding yourself of your humanity. And so I mentioned earlier how the modeling industry is so glamorous, and oftentimes models are looked at as icons or symbols of beauty. And while that can sound exciting and yay, I'm an icon, and yay, I'm a symbol of beauty, it can also be dehumanizing. And so it's important to say, yes, in this moment, I'm being this symbol of what luxury should look like, or what flirty should look like, whatever it is you're acting. But it's also important to hold on to the fact that I'm still a human being, because what we find is that a lot of models get objectified. And when people are objectified, it becomes easier for them to be treated in a way that doesn't really take their humanity into consideration. And so I think it's important for models to have their value system going, and also learn about their humanity and learn how to communicate that in a way that reminds the people around them that, yes, I'm playing this role, but I'm also a human being and my needs should be considered. You know, there's also some assertiveness skills that goes along with that in terms of being able to communicate that in a way that is effective and gets you what you need.
Wow, that is definitely powerful, because it is a competitive environment, like you said, and you do have to know what's healthy for you, and being able to communicate those values are very, very important. So that's some really, really good insight. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
What I would do now, thank you. What I would do now is take a break for our sponsors, and we'll be back in one moment.
If you are like many models, you dream of being discovered and a high-paying career. However, you might feel discouraged and just aren't completely sure how to get noticed more or paid more as a model. If that is you, then it's time to enroll in the Online Model Mastery Program, where we will help you become a certified, unstoppable model. We guide all the pieces of your brand together for the world to see and pay you as a professional. In the Online Model Mastery Program, you will learn how to get rid of insecurities, unpaid gigs, looking like an amateur in photo shoots, and wasting time on the wrong castings. Instead, you will gain clarity of the purpose, raise your prices, increase social media followers, turn heads on the runway, learn new poses, boost your confidence, and unleash your unstoppable mindset to reach your modeling dreams. To learn more, text MODEL to 313131. That's MODEL to 313131. While the world is shut down, is the perfect time to polish your skills, so that when the world opens up again, you can be unstoppable. Text MODEL to 313131.
Okay, welcome back. We are with Dr. Indigo, and she is sharing with us mental health in the modeling industry. I want to ask you, what other industry similar to the modeling industry do you believe is doing mental health right?
Okay. Yeah, so when I think of the modeling industry, I think of the modeling industry, I love that it's like a very female dominant industry. Like when you think of it, a lot of beautiful women come to mind and a lot of powerful women come to mind. So I think in that regard, the modeling industry can be unique in that way. But I also think it shares some similarities with the sports industry, whereas that industry is dominated by men, but it does have that sense of there's a lot of travel involved. It can feel very, I don't know what's next. You can sign a contract, but then you can get traded. So it does have that similarity in terms of being fast-paced, being intense, and all that trading and all those different things that go along with it. It also reminds me, and this is you're going to laugh at this, but it also reminds me a bit of academia, where academia, yes, you're hired by a university, but there is this, you're always chasing the next thing, whether it's the next publication, the next conference that you have to go to, the next student that you need to bring in. So there's this like fast-paced vibe that both industries have. In terms of who is doing mental health right, that is a difficult question, because I think that as a society in general, we're just now getting to a place where we're starting to do mental health, and we're in the beginning stages of that in general. But I do like that the NBA is an organization that I see has started to emphasize wellness for the players. So many sports teams, as well as a lot of colleges and universities, have a dedicated therapist to work with the players specific to their wellness. So in the beginning, sports psychology used to be about how do we get them to perform best. Now there's this emphasis on how do we ensure that our players are living a healthy life. So that is one. The NBA, I think, is a leader in that regard. So that's one industry that I think is doing it well. Unfortunately, academia is kind of up and down. Some schools do a good job of making sure that the professors and the grad students know that they have mental health services available, but it's also a very demanding, grueling experience where sometimes you may not feel like you have time to access those services. So I think everyone has a lot of room to grow, because overall as a society, we have room to grow in the area of mental health. But I think that right now the NBA would be the one industry I would point to that's kind of leading that charge in terms of this like fast-paced lifestyle, but also remembering to consider that we aren't just meant to work, we need to take care of our mental health as well.
Yes, and it's almost like a setback with the whole pandemic that everybody's going through as far as mental health as well, which is an entirely separate topic that we'll have to have you back on for. But as you know, the name of the podcast is Unstoppable Model. What do you think makes a model unstoppable?
I think so many women are beautiful, but when I think of like a model that's unstoppable, I just think of that woman who knows what she wants and isn't afraid to ask for it and is confident and also isn't afraid of rejection, because rejection is part of the process. And, sometimes it's actually good to be rejected if you're not a good fit for something, right? So that's what I think is a model that's unstoppable. Someone who just knows her values, just in addition to being beautiful and knowing how to pose, knowing how to walk, knowing how to twirl, knowing how to present herself with poise and grace. I think it also is that model who knows what she wants, isn't afraid of rejection, and knows how to exude confidence and doesn't forget her self-worth. That to me is what makes a model unstoppable.
Yes, I agree. Now, you had also talked about the pressures in the industry and chasing, the uncertainty, the rejection. I know you have a doctorate in psychology, but tell me, do you have any exposure in the modeling industry?
I actually don't. I've dabbled in it a little bit just for fun. So in college, there was like fashion shows for our little college club, and I would do some of the fashion shows there. So we actually had real designers that we were working with, and I picked up on some of the stuff that I described, just being in that scenario, and I was like, wow, this is just the little fashion show for the college, and it's this intense. I wonder what this must be like when it starts getting real and there's real money involved and real models involved. So that was some of my exposure to the modeling industry. It's in a very light way. There were like one or two models who were actual models that were part of the show, but for the most part, most of us were just having fun with it. But we, and then of course, this was when Top Model was a huge thing. It had just come out. I'm aging myself a little bit, but Top Models had just come out when I was in college, so we used to watch it all the time and then go to our little fashion show practice and then do our little fashion show and talk to the designers, and we would all talk about it after the fact, like, wow, did you see what happened? How they told her not to wear this dress, or how they pressured her into doing this. And so those were just some of the conversations we were having. And this was on a very small scale. It was a free fashion show. And it was a fundraiser, so we charged money, but this wasn't any like high-end production, but it was still pretty intense. And so I was like, wow, if it's this intense on this level, I wonder what it's like on a higher level. Now, in terms of dance, I have danced in more intense circles, and I feel like that environment gets a little similar in terms of that competition, fast-paced, cutthroat kind of environment.
Gotcha. Well, we will definitely take that as modeling experience, big or small. And a lot of models, they do get started, for fun, and then they end up having so much fun, that they want it to continue. But it does have a lot of challenges along the way. What are some easy tips you can share with our listeners as they navigate the industry?
Hi, I'm Coach Jackie, and I help models around the world accelerate their income with confidence and proven strategies so they can stand out. I have an upcoming VIP modeling bootcamp that will help you develop an unstoppable mindset, break through your income ceiling, and master some of the techniques of a high-paying model. This bootcamp will help you to charge more, gain unstoppable confidence, know the types of modeling, develop your model brand, have a better social media presence, network with others, turn heads on the runway, learn new poses for print, get paid through social selling, have an unstoppable attitude, and be able to run through mental barriers. Now, we don't have time to cover every topic at each boot camp, but these are some of the topics that we do cover depending on which city we are in. My goal is to help you reach your dreams for 2021. So to see if I'm a good fit for you and to see if you qualify for my boot camp, text the word model to 313131. That's MODEL to 313131.
Ooh. So the big things I would say is, so we talked about how the industry can be very fast paced, very chasing the next big thing. It's a hustle industry. And sometimes when you're hustling, it can be very difficult to lose sight of yourself, and you can start to feel not very grounded because you're kind of all over the place. That's what the job demands. So I think it's important for models to create a way to kind of incorporate stability into their life that they can take with them. So small ways to do that could be maybe a video that you watch all the time that makes you feel relaxed and makes you feel comfortable. That could be a nice way to bring grounding to yourself as you navigate different cities, maybe even different time zones and all that. Maybe having a mantra that you say, something that you recite before you start a job that's quick and easy to do. Or even doing yoga every time before you go to a shoot. Just something that you do consistently that you can do wherever you are that kind of helps ground you and helps give you that sense of stability and makes you feel present and powerful. Yeah, that would be my major tip for how to navigate things and the busyness and the chaos that's like part of the work.
Are there any resources, books, or videos you'd like to share with the audience that you think would be helpful for aspiring models?
Yeah, someone told me about a series on YouTube that I started watching, and it's a series that's done by Vogue, and they have different titles. So there's one that's called 9 Models on Racism and Privilege in the Modeling Industry. Another is 9 Models on Mental Health and Self-Esteem. So they really are investing in making sure that models feel well. There's another one called 9 Models on the Pressure to Lose Weight and Body Image. Another one, 10 Models Explain the Dangerous Power Dynamics in the Modeling Industry. So I think it's important to, just watch those things and get a sense of what it's like for people who are actually in the industry so that you can be prepared for what they throw at you. So those are some of my resources that I would recommend. I also picked up the book Washed Away from Darkness to Light. It is a memoir, so sometimes they can be a little embellished and they emphasize the negative, but this is someone who had a lot of experience in the modeling industry and shared some of her negative experiences with the hope of reaching women and ensuring that they don't experience some of what she experienced.
Gotcha. Well, I would love for you to post that book, Washed Away, and the author in our Facebook group, Be the Unstoppable Model, and then post also maybe a few of those Vogue videos that you mentioned in our Facebook group, Be the Unstoppable Model. That way other people can have straight access to that. That would be great.
Oh, sure. I would love to do that. I'm writing a note now.
As we wrap up, before you share your final thought, how can our listeners reach you? Like, what's your Facebook or Instagram or website?
Models, have you ever finished a photo shoot? Then you have to go to your regular job next. Ugh. You are feeling tired, joints aching, and you're so exhausted you just want to scream. Your first thought is coffee, but you know that's going to leave you jittery and wired and full of regret. That's where Tava Lifestyle comes in. with a smoother, more balanced way to drink coffee. Caprice Premium Coffee is a CBD-infused blend that gives you energy with the holistic properties of CBD, reducing anxiety and calming the mind, reducing swelling and inflammation in the joints, as well as reducing chronic pain. Reclaim your calmness. Visit unstoppable.tavalifestyle.com and enjoy this premium soothing blend today. Not a coffee drinker? Also check out our Flare Energy Supplement with B6, B12, Vitamin A, Selenium and D3. That's unstoppable.tavalifestyle.com.
Sure. The best way to reach me is you can reach me is through social media. So you can reach me on Instagram. My handle is at Chinwe, CHINWE _ Indigo, IDIGO. So that's the best way to reach me on Instagram. You can reach me on Facebook. My community is Black Women Inspired. You can send a message, or you can also reach out to me through my private Facebook and send me a message that way. Add me. I'm not picky. I add everyone on Facebook. I would love to connect with you. I would love to hear from you. So feel free to reach out to me, or you can send me an email at ckidigo@gmail.com.
Okay, say your email one more time for our listeners.
Sure, it is ckidigo@gmail.com.
Okay, and then what was your Facebook username?
My Facebook, the username is my name, Chinwe Indigo, but my current community is Black Women Inspired.
Gotcha. Okay, awesome. So yes, as we wrap up, what are your final thoughts that you would like to share with our listeners?
Oh, of course. I think it's an amazing thing that you are choosing to pursue a career in the modeling industry. That is a very brave choice. A lot of people shy away from their dreams and never work towards it. So if you are pushing through and trying to do that, you're already in the top 20% of people, because a lot of people never pursue their dreams. And don't get discouraged. I know some of this talked about the mental health issues, which can feel a little scary, but it's really not about scaring you away. It's really about informing you so that you can prepare and equip yourself with what you need. A lot of models work on their posing, their turns, their walk, poise, their fashion, but very few people work on building those soft skills, that the emotional development that's needed for the industry, or the social development that's needed for the industry. And I think it's important to invest some time, effort, and money in those aspects of yourself, because that is what will keep you grounded through that process, which can be very chaotic. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So really, really great insights that I hope our listeners can take and work on becoming a better them and becoming unstoppable. Thank you again, Dr. Chinwe Indigo. Appreciate you taking time out today to share with our models.
Okay. Thank you, Jackie. I loved talking to your audience, and thanks for having me.
We are honored to have you listening, and we hope you are leaving with some great tips to help you be unstoppable in the industry and in your everyday life. Now go out there and make a difference. We believe in you. If you enjoyed this podcast, be sure to subscribe so you are notified when a new episode is posted. Please rate and review this podcast and share it with your peers. Thanks again, and have an unstoppable week.